Welcome to the Manager TV show, and my name is Coetzee John. And today we are going to discuss a lot of things about emotional intelligence and emotional agility. And we have a special guest from Genesis Business School, and her name is Linda Coetzee. Welcome to the studio, Linda Coetzee. It has been a long journey.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, all the way from Lagos.
All the way from Lagos, yes, at this stage, but actually all the way from South Africa. Our head office for Genesis Business School is in South Africa, but I am at this stage managing the office in Lagos, Nigeria.
Oh, you are the head of
I am the head of Genesis Business School, Nigeria. Yes.
And how big it is? Genesis in South Africa, Genesis in India, and Genesis in Nigeria.
So collectively, you see, with a business school, what do you consider as big? Is it the number of people who study through you? And we have globally, we have a lot of students studying through us from about 190 countries. Yes, we've had students throughout the 21 years of our existence from all of these different countries. We've been an online, not just online, but we've been online for, I think, about 8 years, maybe going between 8 and 10. I'm not 100% sure. History is not my strong point. But yeah, so which means that we have had the capability to reach many different peoples in many different countries. So it does make for exciting learning and development because you are actually part of a global classroom. So your case studies and your questions come from many different perspectives. So it's really very exciting to be in one of the classes. So yes, we have a huge reach, and we're very grateful for that reach, of course.
Wow.
But yeah, one of the, and that's why we're here today, one of the golden threads of most of our programs is emotional and spiritual intelligence. We've been dealing with that since the start. One of our founding members actually did a PhD in it, and every principle, all these principles are applied in the way in which we approach leadership and management.
Okay, and as I told you today, our topic is going to be emotional intelligence. And I see you have already opened it, and I want to just everyone to be on board. When you say emotional intelligence, what do you mean?
So emotional intelligence is about how do we know what we feel, know how our emotions are expressed and how people are receiving those emotions, and then also as a manager to know when we are confronted with specific emotions, how do we react to that, and how do we manage that to make sure that it doesn't influence the flow of activities that happen throughout the day and ultimately the productivity of the team. So that's what emotional in a very, very small nutshell, that's what emotional intelligence is about.
Emotional intelligence and wellness, is it the same subject or is it a part of?
It forms part of wellness. Remember, as a human being, we're about physical well-being, you know, a healthy body and a healthy mind, sleeping and things like that. We're about emotional intelligence because we have hearts that influences our minds, right? So that's emotional intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is about our higher purpose. How do we add value to what we do, and how does this link to the organization? And then of course financial intelligence, making sure that on a personal and organizational level that we practice the principles of financial intelligence, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, that's core to business.
But nowadays there is a term there's new term, agility.
So
emotional agility.
Yes. So emotional agility did grow from emotional intelligence, like any theory or any idea in business grows. What emotional agility adds to the topic is that it says no human being can control the emotions of someone else, but you can be agile in how you respond to those and how you make sure that those don't affect the rest of the team. And not just other people, but also your own. I think a lot of the time managers forget how, because we see ourselves as human beings and that's how we think we live our lives, but we forget how people perceive us and how people want to work for us and want to work with us. And that is where our emotions can play a very integral part. Because you can't just be the loving, kind, supportive all the time. Sometimes you do need to push with a little bit more of assertiveness, which then confuses people because they think, but you're so nice. But I'm also nice with an agenda of making sure that you reach your full potential in the organization.
Okay, that's good. And why someone need to be, emotionally intelligent?
I think emotions in the workplace can cause a lot of conflict because emotions are not always expressed as we want to express them, or in our personal lives we tell people when we are angry and we cry when we want to cry. In the workplace that is not always possible. Right? So we will suppress those emotions. We will let something go because I'm not going to address it. You're either fearful of how people are going to react when you address it. And then comes a day when all of a sudden it becomes a huge issue. And it is a build-up to something that could have been addressed much earlier through emotional intelligence, and then it blows up and conflict arises and it's disruptive for productivity and people resign and people don't want to work together anymore and they want to move departments and things like that. So the effect of not practicing emotional intelligence can be devastating for a team and therefore an organization because it's disruptive.
So that it means that nowadays most of the company, the serious problem nowadays is no longer the capital, it's emotional intelligence. That's a serious challenge and lack of capital.
It's a serious challenge if you ignore it, if you don't address it, and that's what emotional intelligence is about. Your organization, we've always been told the 3 Ps, people, profit, planet. Nowadays we also include a 4th P, which is purpose, which talks about value and the value that you add, the value that the employee add, etc., etc. But if you ignore any of those, the people or the profit or the planet because of CSR or the purpose, then productivity, management, there will be a lack somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So, can you give maybe just for someone to understand this subject, can you give an example of the real example of maybe some accident happened to different companies and it cost the company billions of dollars because of lack of emotional intelligence?
Sure. Thinking of an example off by hand is very difficult, but what I can say, how emotions influence decisions. We all know that from a personal perspective, when you are angry, you will sometimes speak words that you don't mean, right? In the workplace, it might not be that you're going to shout at someone, right? Because you should be professional. But that type of emotion is going to cloud your effective decision making, right? Which could influence the document you are signing, the document you are creating, which could in the long run influence the whole project that you are working on because your decision making were not at optimal. As a team, as an individual. Also, another example would be if people are in conflict with one another or in competition a negative competition with one another because they're not talking, or because they're fighting for resources or things like that, which then will influence the project or the tasks that you are working on hugely, because you are not communicating effectively because you don't know how. So that does fall under emotional intelligence as well.
Okay. So just to give an advice for most of the corporates, so what they can do, or they need to take action. What kind of action do you advise for corporate nowadays to take so that they can avoid this kind of repercussion of lack of emotional intelligence?
Yes. So emotional intelligence at its core has principles that involves the individual as well as the social structure of the organization. And social structure of organization, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about organizational cultures, teams, development, anything that makes the organization what it is. So I think the advice that I would give to managers first and to leaders first, you need to be aware, self-aware of your own emotions at all times and the effect it have on your team. You need to assess your emotions continuously so that you know what it is that spurs a certain emotion: anger, fear, aggression, all of those emotions. You need to understand why, because the effect of that on your team can be disastrous, right? We need to practice social awareness. We need to know what it is within the team that makes them tick. Empathy, organizational awareness of these things, and putting it as a priority. And then we need to be able to manage relationships. And as managers and leaders, that's, I think, what we do every day, throughout the day, making decisions, managing relationship, managing resources, managing people, So I think that would be, we need to know how to manage relationships. We need to know how to be socially aware of what is, sensitive of what is happening. We need to be aware of our emotions, and we need to assess our emotions constantly.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So you mean that this emotional intelligence is a skill that every manager must master it, no matter you want it or you don't want it.
Exactly. They must master it, but I think it's a skill that you continuously work with, because or work on.
Yes.
You're never going to be a master of everyone's emotions around you, right?
Yes.
But you can continuously work on making sure that you are, I don't want to say in charge, but that you are aware of what is happening, and making sure that the people around you and the people you need to work with are in an environment that they can be as productive as they should be, and that they are happy. Because we all know a happy worker is a productive worker.
Wow.
So that's very, very important. And you cannot take responsibility for someone's happiness, but you can support them so that they can be happy where they are. And that's the role of the manager here. But yes, it's a skill that you can learn and become aware of, and then work on every day. Because you're going to have different people to work with. You're going to have different ideas that you have to work with, different cultures, different ages, different, that is just the dynamics and the beauty of what it means to be a manager.
Wow, that's good. So, one of the skills that as a Tanzania Institute of Manager, I think they came up, in order to become a certified manager, you must master at least 34 core skills.
Yes.
Managerial skills, and emotional intelligence is one of them.
Yeah.
And I think if someone read the core skills that TIM is believe actually they adapt them. These are skills that every manager must master, whether you want it or you don't want it.
Yes.
In order to be called as a professional manager, you must have these skills.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, just to wind up the show, I've seen that you you actually you partner with TIM for a certification, certified manager programs. What advice maybe you want to give people, maybe who they want to to become a certified manager? Just a quick summary.
So I think any manager and every manager cannot stop learning, because the world does not stop developing, right? So even if you join the junior manager or the associate manager program, that's where you start. And then you move on to the next year. You cannot stop learning. So the benefit would be that you are in continuous growth when you do your programs, when you do the programs that we do together. Even if you focus on doing the management skills programs separately, it is continuous learning, because you deserve that, because you deserve to grow, and growth means promotion. If we have to put it that simple, growth means promotion, but it also means self-actualization. Your personal goals, you will reach those personal goals if you stay focused on growing, because the world does not stop developing.
Wow, that's good. And apart from, I know Regenesis, you are doing a lot of things. Maybe in summer, what other things are you doing at Regenesis?
So we have a kind of two legs. So we do management development programs like you can do through TIM, but we also do specific organizational programs. So we will analyze organizational needs, exactly what they need to do in order to improve whatever problem they bring to us, and then design programs accordingly to ensure that that organization finds value in the training and development that they do. And then of course there are, the individual programs from doing a bachelor's degree up into a PhD through Regenesis, and you can do it from Tanzania, because we're online.
Wow, that's good.
Yes.
And I see a lot of people, from here and other countries in Africa, they just travel all the way from their country to South Africa or India or Nigeria for your famous program, MBA.
Yeah.
How does it become one of the famous, program?
So,
very competitive program, I think.
yeah. A master's in business administration, if you go and read research, most people say they employ people with a master's of business administration not just because they receive knowledge in all the crucial management functionalities like finance and HR and marketing and things like that, but because they can manage their time. Because studying online and studying something like a master's degree in business administration while you are working means that you know how to fit many things into a day and use your working hours and your personal hours in a day to the maximum, right? So a master's degree in business administration is famous because it assumes that you have the knowledge that it takes to be a manager because of all the different subjects that you do, but also that you have the skills to optimize your time. And that very often is what fails managers or prevents managers from moving forward, because they don't know how to manage everything that they have to do in a day. So it is a challenge, because it challenges you to think differently, to think beyond what you think you know and can do, and then opens up different avenues for you, because you start learning about things that you knew about because you knew there was an HR manager or a marketing manager, and now you start learning how, if you were the CEO of a company, how you need to manage the marketing manager, the HR manager, what you need to know to manage them, not be the marketing manager, but how do you as a CEO manage those people. That's the power of an MBA.
Thank you, Miss Linda Coetzee. Thank you so much for.
It has been my pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
According to Linda, she said that lack of emotional intelligence costs a lot of money to many organizations, and most people they resign or they find it very difficult to work together because of lack of emotional intelligence. So what we need to do is to become emotionally intelligent and take action now yourself to upgrade yourself with emotional intelligence so that you can run your organization very productive for your well-being. So until next time, my name is Gilbert Young. See you in the next episode of the Manager TV show. Thank you.